Welcome to Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered. In today's episode, Emilia Papadopoulos sits down with renowned retail entrepreneur, TV dragon and philanthropist Theo Paphitis for an engaging conversation exploring business, leadership, entrepreneurship and his enduring connection to Cyprus. This session was recorded live on the 8th of May 2026 at the Cyprus Diaspora Forum, held at the AMARA Hotel in Limassol, Cyprus.
Hi everyone. Hi. Welcome. Now I am very, very excited for our next session. We will hear from a man who's built an extraordinary career from the ground up, a retail powerhouse, a sharp investor, and of course, a familiar face to many from Dragon's Den. But beyond all of that, he's also one of us, a Cypriot born right here in Limassol, which makes today even more special. He spent decades building brands, backing entrepreneurs, and shaping the world of business as we know it. Today, we get the chance to spend a little time with him and learn from his journey, which is actually one of the most interesting things about him, and soak up as much of that experience as we can. So we will have time for some questions later on, but please join me in giving a very, very warm welcome to Theo Paphitis. Oh,
we're there.
Welcome.
You got a good side?
I don't mind. Which is your good side?
I don't have one. So
do you know what? Then I'm going to pop you over here.
Like that one. Okay, that's fine. It's going to be tough, this. Right.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm not sure I am.
Well, we're going to, should we start off and be a little silly just to really feel comfortable?
Warm me up.
We have something in common. I'm not very good at business.
But I've just got to tell everybody, she just piled me with alcohol before I came on. Right? So we're already on a roll.
It's not true. It's not true. So we have something in common, and that is our shared love of halloumi. I've read. Don't tell me it's not true. I've read so many articles where you're talking about halloumi.
I do like halloumi, but it's not, I don't wake up in the morning and think,
well, you came across as very passionate. Okay, all right, okay.
I do like halloumi. I do like halloumi. It's lovely.
Grilled, boiled in the beet tower.
Yeah, I had it for breakfast this morning. I had it boiled this morning.
So you do love halloumi?
I do love halloumi. But everybody in this room loves halloumi. Put your hands up if you don't love halloumi. See, there's nobody here who doesn't love halloumi.
If you don't love it, get out.
So, as you can see, this is going to be a really serious
we're going to talk about all the important stuff. So, well, now we've cleared that up.
I've cleared that little
let's move on with the interview. Theo, you left Cyprus at a very early age. How connected do you still feel to Cyprus and your Cypriot roots?
I think that's a really easy one because I was born here. It was slightly different from some of the friends of mine that were born in England, but have Cypriot direct lineage. For me, this is home, always will be. And, parents recently passed away, unfortunately, but they're here. So I don't see any other country. I'm very, very fortunate. We've got homes in a variety of places, but this is home.
You feel like it's home when you come back?
So when I come here, I relax, except obviously I'm nervous speaking to you, Emilia. But I relax and I can go. It's changed a bit since I was born here in Limassol, just around the corner. But it has changed a little bit over the last sort of 60-something years.
Do you have any favorite memories? I know you left when you were a young boy, but is there something that you remember or something that hits you when you land at Larnaca? Maybe it's a smell or a feeling or a memory of...
Yeah, the smell is always great. I mean, who doesn't like souvlaki? But the point being is my recollection. We did leave as a young man, as a young boy, not a young man. But my recollection was my early years. I was a bloody nightmare to my mother. I mean, I was the worst possible child she could have had. There was nothing I wouldn't do that would cause a problem. God knows how many times I ended up in hospital, did all sorts of, she dressed me up in beautiful white shorts, white shirt, white shoes, white socks to hold a candle at a wedding or something. and I would just go out and cover myself in mud 30 seconds before we're meant to leave. And it would be a disaster. I'd go climbing. And we used to live right by the sea, Molos. And in those days, before they reclaimed the land, you literally crossed the road and you were in the water. And she'd take her off me for 2 seconds. I'd cross the road and I'd be waist high in water. And we're going out, to a wedding or christening or something. So it was always, or I'd climb the roof of the house and she couldn't find me and I'd be on the roof. But that was fine, except when I fell off it. So she'd end up in hospital rather than going to where we were going. I was actually a problem.
These are not traits you need to be successful, in case we do have any.
But I do have ants in my pants. I do have ants.
Which is always good.
Yeah.
So if we can get a little serious, I want to go back in time a little bit to 16-year-old Theo. You're leaving school with no qualifications. You've been labeled by your teachers as, somebody that can't concentrate and somebody that's lazy. But in fact, you had undiagnosed dyslexia. Was it disheartening to you at the time? Or was there a part of you that always knew that you'd go on to make something of yourself?
It's really easy with hindsight. It's really, really easy to look at it through rose-colored glasses. But at the time, it was quite devastating. But, I'm quite a determined individual. And to be considered thick at the time was tricky because my peer group were all the bright kids. And that's who I hung out. But my school, my classes were with all the troublesome kids that struggled. So it was a really strange dynamic. But I couldn't do exams. So, 16, they just basically got rid of me. And my last ever school report, which I found many, many, many years later. And when I read it, the strange thing about it, I remembered every word of it. So clearly I'd read it at the time, and I'd clearly blanked the whole fucking thing out of my mind. Because it was so horrendous as a put down by the headmistress of me as not me as an individual, but my abilities. Actually, as an individual, she said, I'm a splendid boy. But the rest of it was pretty horrible. And since I found it again, and then I remembered it, I took a picture of it and I have it on my phone. And I carry it everywhere with me because we all need that little bit of inspiration sometimes when we need just to go that extra mile just to prove a point.
That's amazing. And so we go from 16.
Would you like to hear it?
Yes. I was going to ask you, but I didn't want to intrude too much. Oh, go on, tell us.
I've never stopped you before. Let's see if this phone doesn't want to come out. There we go. Right, let's see. Where we got to? Where have we?
This has never happened before, by the way.
Where we got to? We're doing it live. Yeah. We are going there, and we are going to go to
Favorites folder.
All right. Would you want to do it? Favorites. It is in favorites. Definitely is in. There we go. Favorites, and we're going to go try and find. Oh my God! It's here. We found it. Well, why didn't you read it? I've never done this before either. So I'm going to tell you, it's the bits at the end in type.
Okay.
All right, there you go. You can read it out.
There is much in these reports for Theo to read carefully and dwell on. There are some very shrewd professional comments that cannot be ignored. A splendid person with fine qualities, but unfortunately, there are no examinations in this field. Head of lower upper school, and it's signed. I hope she came on to see you.
So that was it. That was tough shit, mate. You might be a nice bloke, but you ain't going to go anywhere. There's no examinations in being a nice bloke.
Wow. So we go from 16, leaving school, and you get a job at Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
In fairness, I'd applied to about 100 different jobs. In those days, it was in black and white. those youngsters amongst us, you used to have to send a letter asking for an application form with a stamped and addressed envelope inside the letter. Then they send you an application form, you'd fill it in, and you send it off, and you prayed for a response. This whole exercise did take many, many weeks. I must have sent 100 envelopes and got bugger all responses. And the ones that I did get were, thank you, but no thanks. So this is where I would say that was probably my lowest ebb in my whole life. Because even though I had confidence, that particular moment in time, everything else confirmed what was written in this report. The actions I was getting back, and the reaction was everything that was in this report. There was no work for me. I was going to have to give some remedial job. So I decided to borrow a suit, which I did do, and I went to an employment agency, as they were in those days, in London Bridge, and I sat in their office and all day for about 3 days. And as they got requests for jobs, I was there ready to go. So I did that for 3 days. And I actually managed to get a job in a Lloyd's of London brokerage as assistant to the tea stirrer and filing clerk. It was pretty amazing because I was ecstatic. Salary was £1,200 a year.
Wow.
It was big money. And I also discovered it was exactly the same day as the government announced that anybody who hadn't had a job before, the government would contribute £1,200 to their wages.
Oh,
so
perfect.
Basically, I was free work, right? Hence, I got the job. It was brilliant. I loved it. I lasted the whole year because I was dyslexic and I was filing. So whilst I made great tea and everybody loved me as a splendid person, it wasn't helpful when they tried to find files, which were all over the place. So, but it was good work experience, and I was out there, and I discovered that lots of the things that I'd learned at school, which was how to deal with my own personal issues, which was finding workarounds to do the same thing as all my friends were doing. It would take me 3 times as long, or I'd have to find a workaround to do it in a different way. So it wasn't the same way as they did it. But that was great, because when I went to the workplace, if there was a problem, I had a solution. I would always find a solution, because I spent all my bloody life finding ways of dealing with things, not to show I was thick. So the workplace was a good experience because I got on really well there, and that gave me a lot of confidence to move on and have more confidence in myself. But up to then, every time I went for an interview, it was my mouth would dry up, I'd sweat profusely, I had no confidence whatsoever, and if they asked me to fill in an application form there and then, I was dead. I couldn't do it.
I want to talk about what happened after that, but just picking up on something you said, you talked about how you always, you were always kind of fighting fires on your own or trying to find solutions for things. Do you think, in a way, your dyslexia, which you undiagnosed at the time, but, could have been seen as a disadvantage, was actually what made you stand out, your superpower, if you like?
It is my superpower. I'll claim it's my superpower. I'm vice president of the Dyslexia Association in the UK now. And I always say to kids, when I speak to kids, it's our superpower. We can do stuff other people can't do. I can see a problem and I can see a solution. That makes a difference. I'd never say to somebody, and this is not always a good thing, by the way, but, this is wrong. I say, this is wrong, and this is what should be the right way of doing it, or this is what should be happening. I don't sit there throwing stones, just saying things are wrong. I will say, this is wrong, and I will give an opinion or a recommendation. Because that's how my mind works. Now, some people might not appreciate that. But that for me is one of the biggest strengths I've had.
I think that's an incredible lesson for many people in this room.
Well, any consultant, any
anything
idiot
that you need
can tell you
Yeah.
the obvious. Right? Thank you very much. So what's the solution?
But also the being labeled as something or being told that you're not good enough, in all your different fields, whether it's business or healthcare or whatever it is, to then find a way around it and just not be disheartened, but find your own superpower, find the solutions and get around the problem.
Yep. And that was great for me when I went to work. And that allowed me to progress, in fact, incredibly quickly from leaving school at 16 with no qualifications. First job lasted a year because there was no government subsidy in the second year, right? And there was no way I was going to be promoted into a senior role because I didn't go to the right school. I didn't have the right accent. I didn't have the right qualifications. So there was no job. So, and one of the strange thing is, how many people keep asking me this question? I know you haven't.
I might.
You might do later on, so we're going to go for it early.
Okay, let's do it.
You would have asked me this question. Why are so many entrepreneurs dyslexic?
I was not going to ask you that.
You were.
No.
You were always going to ask me. You were always going to ask me that. But it's a great question that you asked.
Why are so many entrepreneurs dyslexic?
This is really, really simple. Because they can't get a bloody job anywhere else. Right? So they have to do it for themselves. They have to go and do it for themselves. Or otherwise, because if I wasn't dyslexic, I probably would have done something totally different. Right? Because I would have gone to university, I've probably gone in one of the professions.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. Because I think I'm bright enough, but I wouldn't be able to do the exams.
Yeah, you would have been a sheep, not a shepherd.
Exactly.
So we're at Lloyd's, the year ends, and then
it all went to a bit of shit at that stage. But the good news is one door closes and another one firmly flies in your face.
So what happened next?
I got very ill. So I spent a bit of time in hospital, which was not my doing. I think called peritonitis, which was undiagnosed. So it got a bit. So I actually wasn't working. So no job, in the hospital, shit. It's not looking good again. We've gone backwards again. But there was an advert in a newspaper in the UK. It doesn't exist anymore, called the Evening Standard. And it was for a salesman in a watch company in Bond Street. And that previous job, that lasted a year, there was a girl. There's always a girl. There's always a girl in every story. And she used to work in the reception. Yes, receptionist. So I sort of took her out for a drink a couple of times. And before I knew it, there I'm 16 and we're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Was she Cypriot?
No. She was from South London. Anyway, cut a long story short, I now acquired a girlfriend, and she wasn't going anywhere, even though I was unemployed. She then became Mrs. P, and we got 5 kids and 11 grandkids now. So she's hung around.
That's a round of applause.
Yeah, she hung around. And she thought, well, you're going to have to get out of this stupor. And look, I found this job in the Evening Standard. So she rang up for me and said, they'll see you tomorrow. I said, don't be stupid. It's a Saturday. She said, they're open. It's a shop. Good point. So I went, had the interview, and the guy says, right. So I finished. He says, so Monday, he says, here, 8 o'clock. So I said, you're not going to write to me? He said, why am I going to write to you? I've just told you you've got the job. Well, I got used to all these bloody letters and these application forms. I didn't have to fill an application form. I didn't have to sit there waiting for a letter. This was like wow, okay. Yeah, I'll be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, that's where I fell in love with retail, and I got my first retail job. I knew that was like, for me, I loved it. Talk to people, didn't have to fill in bits of paper, didn't have to worry about all that nonsense. And you could engage, and loved every minute of it.
And you were good at it.
I was luckily exceptional at it.
Can I just segue, because you mentioned your wife and how it started, and I would just like to ask you, you've been married for a long time and she was with you from the beginning.
Not that long, 48 years.
Oh, only? Okay. I wasn't planning to ask you this, but since you mentioned it, I would just like to ask you how much you credit her with, not your success because you built that, but how important was it to have...
You know what? I keep telling her that. She doesn't agree. Strange.
She must be a really big part of your stability, your story, your success.
I think like everything else is a team effort, right? And you're right. God knows what would have happened otherwise. But her, the minute she saw I could hold down a job for more than 2 minutes, she decided she was going to have babies, lots of them. And I then needed to go to work to pay for all his babies, and then loads of grandkids and everything else, because that was what she wanted to do. But that was stability that was brilliant for me, because it kept my feet on the ground. It allowed me to have a solid foundation that I'd never really had. And, you know, it's a team effort. You can't, and then for those of you that follow football, you know, you don't have a team full of strikers, right? You've got to find people in all the positions and have a team. And I think that teamwork definitely had what was, I would say, mainly responsible for everything we've achieved.
Thank you. I was always very curious to ask you that, and thank you for answering it. So going back again, so we're at Watches of Switzerland. You develop your passion for retail, and then...
This is going to take forever. There's a book you can read. I should have brought copies of the book.
But it's just for the benefit of the people that might... Okay, we can speed ahead. Should we speed ahead?
We speed ahead. So fell in love with retail and left retail very briefly, and then went back into it, because that, for me, just excited me. And more importantly, it played to my strengths. And we must all of us play to our strengths, right? There's no point being a striker and being in goal in football. There's no point being a goalkeeper and being a striker. It doesn't work. So I was so lucky I found something that played to my strengths, which was detail, analysis, dealing with problems, solving problems, having the energy to lead, and driving. And those were all traits that I had in abundance, as opposed to the other traits which I didn't have. And you know what? I could hire accountants. I could hire solicitors. I could hire people who are incredibly bright, far brighter than me, know what they're doing, to do jobs. I don't have to do those. I need to know how their jobs work and what their jobs entail, but I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about spelling and not being there. I can write neatly, but my spelling is shocking, right? It's appalling. I mean, I learned to program at a very early age. As soon as computers came out, the first thing I did was teach myself to program. And the first thing I programmed was exactly that, to get over how to spell. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You talked there for a second about traits, so it brings me beautifully on to the next segment about Dragon's Den. You met hundreds, I'm assuming, of aspiring entrepreneurs during your time there. Was there ever a kind of a common quality or trait amongst the people who made it or got investment or whose business went on to succeed that you saw? Did they have something different?
Yeah, I mean, Dragon's Den didn't exist. So it was a new format, new show. We didn't have catch lines. We didn't have catchphrases. I'm out didn't exist. We're making this bloody thing up as we go along. And my first season, which I wasn't in the pilot was a guy called Woodruff was in the pilot, and for some reason they got rid of him and found me. So I didn't do the pilot. So I hadn't actually seen the pilot. Although when I asked a few other people, they had seen it and they actually liked the show. So I did the show. Long story how we got there, but it was new for me. I'd never been on television before, except for one episode of a thing called Back to the Floor that the BBC used to do. I don't know if you probably remember it.
No.
You used to work at the BBC.
I know, before my time. Before my time, Theo.
It wasn't before your time. So Back to the Floor. Basically, they took somebody from the top of the food chain and put them right at the bottom of the food chain and see if you could do the job of the people at the bottom of the food chain, or you're going to make a total arse of yourself so that you have a good old laugh how incompetent you are. And at the time, I was chairman of a football club called Millwall.
Why? Why Millwall? Are you a big Millwall? Sorry, this is another segue, but I'm just very curious.
Brilliant. One of the best clubs in the world. Thank you. There you go. There's somebody. Yeah, go there. Come on, you Lions. Anyway, so chairman of Millwall, and they found me, and everybody at the club, the PR people, the press people said, don't bloody do it. If you look at all the others they've done, they always make themselves look stupid. So I said, that's fine, I probably will. But you know what? I said, if I make myself stupid, I will pretty well accept I made myself look stupid and acknowledge that I'm stupid. And I think I can live with that. It's not a problem because none of us are perfect. So I did the show, and and they did everything in their powers to make you look stupid. And there was a few things that I didn't do as well as I should have done. And I was the first person to criticize, was me criticizing myself, not trying to be somebody else. And on the basis, I spent most of my life working anyway. Even when I was at school, I worked in the Wimpy Bar, which is like a McDonald's for those of you who don't never seen what a Wimpy Bar is, or cafes. I always waited, always worked Saturdays, Sundays. So I didn't mind doing washing plates. It didn't really bother me. And so that's the only TV I'd done. And it was quite self-deprecating. It wasn't making me look a superstar, put it that way. So I did the show. So I said I'll do the show. And it really was an eye-opener, because sitting there, and it was in the studio with 100 cameras just there in those days. There weren't automatic cameras. They used to have tapes in them. They weren't digital. It was really old school. And the first day, and we had to decide what we were going to wear and everything else. And I couldn't make my mind up. And then I went all in black in the end. It was either all white or all black. So I went all black. And I'm sitting there, we all sat down, and I was nervous and sweating, and the other dragons were there, and we were going to do this show. And we had no script. We were kept totally away from where the entrepreneurs were going to be, and it was very serious. And we sat there, and they're faffing around. And those of you who've done television, you know it's a very, very patient world. A lot of faffing around, a lot of waiting, a lot of wasting your time. And if you're busy and you've got other things on your mind, it's not good, right? And smartphones hadn't come out in those days either. You know, so
there's nothing to do.
Oh, Jesus. So we're an hour in, and I'm getting, what is this all about? I mean, what am I wasting my time here? I've got things to do, people to see. And it's hot, and I've got this black jacket, black shirt, I'm sweating, and the makeup keeps dabbing you and everything else. And in the end, they said, right, you can all go home. I said, sorry, they don't like the set, the gantry. They're looking at it, they don't like the set. They don't like the set. What do you mean don't like the set? They don't like it, it doesn't look good, doesn't look right. Don't like the set. Oh, so tomorrow? No, we'll be in touch with you. We'll get back in touch. We'll get back in touch with you. So I've chatted with the other guys, and they'll say, I think it's been cancelled. That's it. We literally all went home thinking that was it. It was done. This show was never going to see the light of day. About 3 days later, get a phone call. Right, can you come in tomorrow? What do you mean come in tomorrow? Well, you were scheduled for a week. And, you can come in tomorrow. And we did. We all went back in following day, and we started filming. But that series was absolutely cursed. Totally cursed.
You spent quite a few years on it.
Yeah, but that series, that first series was cursed. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. So they sent us home, didn't like the set. We come back, looked around, it looked the same. There was no change in the set. Oh, yes, there is. The colouring of the bricks is different. Colouring of the bricks. Okay. Colouring of the bricks is different. The lighting's different. Lighting's different. Okay. Anyway, we did the whole series and felt very, very pleased with ourselves. Got to know the other dragons, and there was it was 5 ridiculous egos in one room. I mean, really ridiculous egos, and to the degree that it nearly got to fisticuffs at some stage in the green room. It was very embarrassing. Because I know them all now, and we still talk. And we talk about those days. In fact,
you came across as friends almost.
No, we liked each other. I dinner with Deborah Meaden last week, and we just chat about some of the early stuff. She wasn't on the show that series. She came the following series for a very good reason. And that's why I said she was cursed. We finished the series. Hallelujah, we're giving 6 weeks of our lives to this series. And one of the dragons, a lady called Rachel Elnor, used to have a business called Red Letter Days. And it was brilliant because at the beginning of the series, in those days, the BBC didn't worry about not advertising. We all were made to be like rock stars of business, right? So there'll be people on yachts, people on private planes. Dear old Rachel had an experienced business. She was on a big motorbike, right, giving it large, and in a Ferrari, and everybody was powerful. Everybody was like the titans of business. Her business went bust at the end, just after we finished filming. So they
Not
said,
ideal.
"Shit, we can't broadcast it now because." Unless we try and cut her out of everything, because they built it up as we were so brilliant. We knew everything. By the way, dragons don't know everything, right? We certainly don't know everything. And they said, well, we can't. They promoted it and everything. Well, how can you now do it? So anyway, cut a long story short, me and the tall fella, a guy called Peter Jones, he's still on the show, because he's got a sad life. And he got nothing else to do. I'm only joking, Pete. But he loves the show. He absolutely loves it. And we bought the business. And it was an experience voucher business. They issued vouchers and people would have experiences. So there was all these vouchers going around in the economy. There was about £15 million worth of these vouchers that were out there that weren't going to be honoured. So you can imagine the BBC couldn't broadcast because everybody would be ringing up and saying, oh, that she doesn't know what she's doing. She owes me 150 quid. And they did a special World in Action. BBC, the ITV, did a World in Action special. If anyone wanted to kill the show, the ITV did. They did this World in Action special about all these people losing their money. And that she was she'd filmed for this BBC show. So it was a complete disaster. Anyway, me and the tall fella bought this business for 2 and 6 pence and said we'd honour all the vouchers. Only because we wanted the show to be aired. It could have been a very, very expensive exercise. But the good news is we bought it for 400,000 quid. It wasn't a lot of money, but there was £15 million of liabilities that we had to take on these vouchers. We held the business for just under 10 years and sold it for 33 million quid. It wasn't a bad deal in the end.
Wow.
It didn't seem like it at the time, I promise you. It did not seem like it, and it took us a long time to get it to work. And we did think there was opportunity for it, but even though we thought we were brilliant, clearly it took us 10 bloody years. We weren't that brilliant, right? But the concept we liked, but we didn't realize it would take us as long as it would take to get the brand back, to be trusted and everything else. But we did. We got it back, got it trusted again, and then got a really handsome price for it. And then the BBC after we bought it, they had a narrative, which was, yeah, Peter and Theo bailed it out and now own it by the other dragons. That's fine. She's retired. And
so it worked out.
And they broadcast the show. And that's when the I'm Out came in, because we started using words that became synonymous with the show.
But you're very, very well known for turning around struggling businesses. And just like you mentioned there, what do you look for when you're deciding whether something's or someone is worth investing in or not?
I mean, that was the original question. I digressed. You let me weave all over the place and come back. Good, you see, she remembers the question. So, as I was just saying, in answer to your question, the key point was in that first series, I say it was cursed. Every investment I made bar one was an absolute disaster. It was useless. I invested in ideas I thought were brilliant. I hadn't worked out that the people I'd invested in were idiots. Who thought they'd won a TV quiz game and I was going to go and run their business for them. And they could put their feet up and I was going to do everything. Well, guess what? Wasn't going to do that.
Didn't work out.
The second series, I woke up and gave myself a good talking to and said, you sort yourself out. Forget the idea. You back people that you would do it in normal life, not this TV show. Look at these people. Are they people that you think, if they've got an average idea, are they going to make it happen? Is it going to work for them? And you know what? I had some great successes in that series, and I stuck to that all the way through. It was not the idea, it was about the people. I'd rather back a good person with a very average idea than some muppet, right, with a really good idea, but they were never going to make it happen anyway.
Was there anything that you, to this day, that still annoys you that you wish you had invested in?
That is the question everybody asks.
Go on, tell us.
We said we weren't going to do it. We had a little chat beforehand. We said we weren't going to do that.
But I just thought I'd try and get it out of you. Yeah.
When he's in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I've answered this in so many different ways over the years. And I think if I boil it down, is if there was something I really wanted, I would have got it, right? Because it's a price thing, right? And there was good stuff that I didn't invest in. There's no question about that. Because not the other dragons are not Muppets themselves, right? They chose well. But I didn't like the people. I didn't like them, and I thought, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to work with you. There's a room for everybody, right? I'll just stick to my knitting. I'll stick to my knitting. No, why would I have regrets? That's another one of my things. Don't have flipping regrets. To torture yourself for what? Just move on. Mm. We all screw up. Who's never screwed up here? See, not one person has put their hand up because they all tell the truth. If you put your hand up, I was going to call you a liar. No, the person that never screws up is a person who never makes a decision, right? Or he's a liar. If you never make a decision, you'll never get it wrong. Or you're just going to lie. We all get it wrong. I don't care who you are.
And it's okay to get it wrong.
It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's how you deal with it when you screw up, when you get it wrong. Whether it's in business, whether it's in life, it's how do you deal with it? If you're going to sit yourself and get all Catholic and torture yourself and put yourself on a cross, put a hair shirt on, that don't work. And it's about, by the same virtue, do not dismiss it. Do not mock it. Do not pretend it was nothing. By all means, beat yourself up. But do it quickly. Give yourself a slap. Yes, you screwed up. And learn. It's just another scar on your back, which means it's another arrow you've got in your quiver because you've learned something.
It's very sound advice. And I'm conscious that we're running out of time and I still have 323 questions left to ask you. So I'm going to try and do it quickly, but I really would like to ask you, you have championed small businesses for a very long time and you do your Small Business Sundays. Why is that still so important to you to lift not just young people, but people with aspiring plans. Why do you do it?
Because I'm greedy. I am so greedy. Gluttony. I feed off the energy of those small businesses. I get more, I'm so guilty of this, I get more out of meeting those small businesses, helping them grow. And when we have a room full of 1,500 people with small businesses, and you get on that stage and you interact with them and you meet them afterwards and beforehand and you talk with them, the energy I get back, as I've said this publicly, I feel a fraud. Because whatever I do for them, they give me so much more back. And I absolutely mean that. I'm not just saying that because it's a nice thing to say. Is I come out of those events, all those boot camps, and we do boot camps throughout the whole country, right? So we've got boot camps going on throughout the whole country. Then we have one big event in Birmingham once a year. I come out of those events and those boot camps absolutely buzzing and raring to go myself. I started as a small business. There was me and one other person, lovely lady that I recruited from the job center. She had no job either because she could spell. And yes, I recognize my weaknesses. Every good man must know and woman must know their weaknesses. It's not a bad thing to know your weaknesses because you can deal with them, right? So I knew I couldn't type, I couldn't send a letter, and I couldn't spell. But I could sell, right? I knew what I wanted to do. So I had to go and find somebody who could type, write letters, and spell, and put things in English. And I did. And those dark, lonely days, and if I wish I had people I could share my experiences with and help me. And now we've got 4,500 businesses in that small business network. And it's all free. We don't charge for it. We've got some great sponsors like Google and NatWest and people like that who now support it. For the first, it's 15 years old now. For the first 10 years, I supported it myself. And it's great to see these businesses grow. And it's great to see them growing. And it's great to see them starting from zilch and employing 30, 40, 50 people, turning over tens of millions of pounds. I had one on the stage with me a couple of years ago. So I invested, I think, I'm just trying to, 50 grand in him originally. He's just had his business valued at 500 million pounds.
Wow.
So I had him on the stage to talk to them. Because he was one of them. He was one that sat there looking at me and thinking, he's the Messiah. And I'm looking at him and saying, he's a Messiah. He's a real deal. Now he's sitting up here and he's sharing his, quite a few of them knew him clearly. He's sharing his experiences and what he's done with his businesses. He's making 18 million quid profits.
It's incredible.
Amazing. Now, tell me you wouldn't get a buzz out of that.
I would.
We all get a buzz out of that. So it's a big win-win. And I think I win more than they do. So that's what I do.
But you do meet a lot of successful people now, or people that have great ideas. But there is a common narrative. Look, I think if we're all honest, today's world, it's a little challenging. There are cost pressures, digital shifts, global uncertainty, conflict. There is this common narrative that it's harder to make it today, or that young people are afraid of hard work or too sensitive to failure. Do you see that? What do you think about that?
Whose parents here, tell me, who's put your hand up if your parents didn't say, no, not that you're a parent, well done, congratulations. But I'm talking about your parents, not you. So, whose parents didn't at some stage during their junior lives not say to you when you were young, oh, the kids of today, they don't know what hard work is all about. Is that what he's been saying to you? Don't know what it's all about. Every generation bloody says it. It's just different now. right? So instead of, people going down a mine and dig and mining coal, they mine Bitcoin, right? they're in underpants in their bedroom, right? Playing Call of Duty, right? And at the same time, mining Bitcoin. It's a different type of mining. It's different. It's different requirements. I don't actually necessarily agree with that because I see a lot of kids, right? And it's just a different world. It's less physical. It's about being smarter now with what's around you. And so I don't think that's a fair label.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I think one of the most remarkable things about you is that you have stayed relevant and adaptable across, the way the world has moved. Do you feel it's important to keep learning about the advances in technology? Or, for example, you made your name on the high street, and then the high street was no longer, everything shifted online. How did you always keep one step ahead?
I've got various mantras. I love a mantra.
Go on, tell us a mantra.
3 reasons for going to work.
Money?
Make money. Gosh. Have fun. Have fun. No, listen, you work for most of your life. Don't go and do something that's going to make you miserable. Go and do something else if that makes you miserable.
And the third?
And don't forget to make money. Because without the money, you can't have the fun, right? And that's where people, when they're having fun, they forget that they're meant to make money to be able to have fun. So that's the 3. Go to work to make money. 2, to have fun. 3, don't forget to make money. Because the not forgetting to make money is probably the most important. Because that's where people deviate. But, your working life, you spend so much of your time working. If you don't enjoy what you do, just pack it up. Go and do something else. There's absolutely no reason. So that's one of my mantras. What was the other question? There was another mantra I was going to tell you about, but I've forgotten it now.
Well, I can ask you. I have one final question, and you have answered this during the course of our chat, but I want to ask you again.
Okay.
After everything that you have built and achieved, I feel that your
reason to exist. That's what it was. See, I'm getting old. You asked about retail. This applies to everybody in this room and to all of us. You, as a presenter, and it's probably more relevant for you than anything else, is reason to exist. What's all our reason to exist? What's our business reason to exist? And I ask that of all my businesses so regularly, every single year. I say, what is my reason to exist? What's my business's reason? If there isn't a real clear reason to exist, you better do something about it. Or otherwise, you're going to go the same way as all those names that disappeared off the high street. Yeah. And I do that every year. And I do it about myself. And I do it about my businesses. Do they have a clear reason to exist? And if they haven't, I better find one quick. Or otherwise, they're going to go south. So that's reason to exist is a really important one for me. And I think it's important for us personally, as well as our businesses.
Very sound advice. So my last question, and as I said, you have answered this in a way throughout our interview, but after everything you've built and achieved, you could have retired years ago. Why haven't you? And what still excites you about business?
You probably tell from my enthusiasm, I love doing what I'm doing. People retire to do what? Do something they enjoy. Shit, I'm doing it. I'm doing it every single day I get out of bed, right? I'd like to do it for 100 years. I didn't mention with you, but I had lunch a couple of years with a chap called Attenborough, who is 100 years old today.
Oh,
right?
Best.
Right. He is one of my heroes. And I'm going to tell you this story. I've never talked about it publicly. About 2 years ago, I had a private dinner with him. And it was just absolutely brilliant. I was in awe of the man. So he was 97, 98 years old, right? And I was absolutely in awe of him. And time just flew by. And at one stage, right at the end, he says, Theo, he says, it's 10 o'clock. He speaks very quiet. It's 10 o'clock. I think it's time for me to give you my apologies and retire. So I thought, shit, Theo, you've held this guy for like 3.5 hours, and he's nearly 100 years old, and you don't think he needs to go to bed, right? That's stupid. So I was like, of course, that's absolutely no, yes. We're in a hotel, so his room's upstairs. So he says, yes, he says, because I've got a flight tomorrow at 6 o'clock. I'm going to Norway. 6 a.m. So I said, well, what time are you getting up? He said, oh, about 4. We were in Glasgow. About 4 o'clock, he says, well, he's getting up at 4 o'clock to get on a flight at 6 a.m. to go to Norway. And he's nearly 100 years old. He is my hero. And if I can manage to get anywhere near those levels of doing what you love doing,
it's a privilege.
Then it is a privilege to be able to carry on doing it.
Thank you so much. Well, we are going to take some questions, but first I have some questions, a quick fire round, which I've been told you love. So maybe my research is all wrong. These came through on Instagram, and forgive me, but not just instinct.
They say, go.
Okay,
go.
Let's go. But I hope you get some of the references here. So pen and paper, Ryman's, or tablet, or electric, digital tablet.
I actually love both. I use both. I still use pen and paper, and I live on my iPad.
Okay, so both.
Yeah.
Biggest pet peeve in business?
Biggest pet
peeve, like one thing you just dislike.
I hate people coming to work if they're not enjoying it. So go and do something else.
One rule you always follow?
I've sadly always believed in leading from the front and working smart.
The first extravagant thing you ever bought?
Wow. Shit. I've been able to buy quite a lot. First, no, it's very. No, I'm going to take you back to at least 100 years ago. And I've always bought cars I can't afford and watches I can't afford.
But that didn't answer the question. What was the first extravagant thing you bought?
It was a watch.
Car. What kind of watch?
It was a Rolex. So in the day, they were good in the day.
And forgive me for this one. The last extravagant thing you bought?
The last extravagant thing. Well, I bought quite a few things. I do like cars. I did buy a very, very, very stupid, expensive car. Stupid.
Could you tell us what it is for those of us who like cars?
Yeah, but it's a Ferrari 4.8 Pista Aperta.
What kind of colour? What colour?
Oh, it's opalescent white with blue stripe right down the middle of it, and it's a boy racer car. And it's really ridiculously, and it was stupid money.
Amazing. Last one. What is the best thing you can buy for under £10 or €10 because we're in Cyprus?
And just go to Ryman. It's full of brilliant things under 10 quid. Absolutely loads of things under.
Ladies and gentlemen, Theo Paphitis. Well, it's fun, right? Did you enjoy it?
Loved it.
Oh, good. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, well, okay. We need the microphone. Have we got the microphone here? If you could just introduce yourself.
Theo, my name's Socrates. I'm also a South London Cypriot.
And we like that. There's not many of us.
I know. You do great things in the UK. You're supporting SMEs. Team Cyprus could benefit from your expertise. Would you ever think about relocating and living in Cyprus and giving the island your expertise in guiding SMEs here on the island?
I would love to, but I've got so many family connections I mentioned earlier in England, which is why I pay my tax in the most ridiculous levels in England. Not that I'm complaining, but I am a tax-paying resident of the UK. Whereas quite a few of my friends have left. Some are over here now. But I do have 5 kids, 11 grandkids, and it's the things that you value. And to save a few bob and to leave the country and not be with your grandkids and see them every week and everything else, it to me is a price there's no price in that for me. I'd pay the price. But the lovely Emilia, earlier we met, and when she was forcing alcohol down my throat to get me talkative, but she was worried I wouldn't be saying anything. She was worried I'd be tongue-tied. It did come up with absolutely a brilliant suggestion. I'd like to take personal credit for it. If I was Trump, I would. But it was Emilia's suggestion that actually might have some legs. So maybe we will pick that up.
We're going to be. I'm very convincing.
You are very convincing. You got there. But which might sort of be more practical on that. So let's see if we can pick that up after.
We will. We definitely will. We definitely will.
We will.
Next question.
Good question.
Hi, my name is Pambos. I actually met you back in 2021, and I told you I made an assignment about you.
Four Seasons Hotel.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you joked that the assignment wasn't very good, but it was the best actually in the year.
Did you get your grade?
What?
Did you get the grade you wanted?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was first class, so it was the best. You joked that the assignment wasn't that good, but actually it was good, and all the class pointed out that you had off-the-chart intuition. So you had the ability to make decisions fast without a lot of data. You could jump into different industries or different businesses that, let's say, were failing. And I just want to ask you, do you think that, let's say, quality of you is enhanced because maybe dyslexia and also because of inside courage that you have to do business and the willingness to have fun?
It's a hell of an interesting question, because it's a question that some people ask in a different way, and the way they sometimes ask it is, "Oh, you must be a big gambler because you do all these things," and my answer is, I actually do not gamble. My bets are £5. If I have a bet at work or bet with anybody, £5. I will bet you £5. If I say, look, that's not going to work, and I normally it's my £5. I never bet more than £5. I take risks, but I take calculated risks, and that's a big difference from just gambling, right? When you take calculated risks, the chances of success are clearly a lot better. And you calculate on information. So you want to get as much information as you possibly can. And although I'm dyslexic, the way my brain works is I can absorb information very quickly. And I'm already racing ahead to the next question and next question and the next question to get as much information. So calculated risks are exactly what entrepreneurs do. They're not gamblers, and we never bet the farm. Does everybody understand by betting the farm? If you lose the farm. Never ever bet the farm. Doesn't matter how good the bet is. Don't bloody do it. Because if it's too good, it's because it's not true.
I would not take a lot of time. I'm going to ask something else. The Fisticuffs, the first season of Dragon's Nest, was it with Duncan?
Duncan was a very stressful individual. We are now incredibly good friends. But the first few series were incredibly stressful between him, me, and the tall fella. So he was a tricky character, but we mellowed him in the end.
Also, how important is this? The last one.
It's a proper conversation.
How important is it for entrepreneurs that have their own businesses to, let's say, relax? Because I remember when they did a documentary about you, you were very happy to show that in your payback.
I said to BBC, I'm not doing it. Yeah. So they said, well, no. I said, I'll do it if we go to Cyprus. I said, because that's home. And they did. We came here and we did a special where we went and visited all the houses I used to live as a child and everything else. Because, this was my home. And I'm relaxed when I'm here. But you know what? If you're looking for a work-life balance as an entrepreneur, go and do something else. There is no such thing. If you're not passionate about what you're doing as an entrepreneur, you're in the wrong business. It is what you do. You're on it 24/7. You have to be able to balance that, juggle those balls. There's no such thing as a work-life balance. It's with you 24/7. And so if you're loving it, it doesn't matter. If you're not loving it, then you should be doing something else.
We have time for one more question. If we could just, okay, two. And now I feel like you with David Attenborough. I'm just going to hold you here till the end of the day. I'm so sorry.
If we can do it again when I'm 98, I'll be ecstatic.
We will.
Thank you. Hi, Theo. Panikos Poujouris, university professor in family business, and I am a Nottingham Forest supporter.
Oh dear. Oh
It was a
dear.
bad-
Not
it was
very
a bad
high.
night for
Get
you
out.
last night. Bad night for you last
So
night.
my question is, the last page of success, it's succession. You could sell the business and thrive on a global scale, or perhaps pass it to the next generation. Have you thought about it? Is
Do you know,
succession on
that's
course?
that's the most
Thank you.
difficult thing. That's the most difficult thing for any entrepreneur. It is. And, you know, as you need to, when we grow a business and start a business, we require certain skills, right? As that business grows, different skills are required. And so it's different skills from that are required for the business that you had, that your kids got to have, and the family needs to have. And succession is really, really difficult. And we've made it even more difficult in the UK now by putting in one ridiculous tax law that will kill most family businesses. So I hope they find a way of getting over that. But it's a tricky one. No one has a final answer. I have 5 kids. 1 is in the business. The other 4 are not, and have no interest in business. And that's fine as far as I'm concerned. Some have gone vocational because they've got vocational drive, and that's wonderful. They're doing good, doing what they do, but they don't want to be in business. But it's as much their inheritance as it is the one that's in the business inheritance. So you can't saddle, my view, I wouldn't want to saddle him with the responsibility of looking after the other 4, because I don't think that's fair. And I wouldn't want to saddle them to be trying to run my business because it's not for them. So it's not one size fits all. This is such a personal question. And it depends on the individual, the families, and it'll be a different answer for every single family. That's my personal view.
And we have one last question here from the lady with the beautiful feathered blazer.
Thank you. I'm Connie. I'm a 26-year-old entrepreneur. And I wanted to ask you if you could give one tip to someone who's starting out and trying to take their business from Cyprus internationally, what would it be?
Right. There is no such bloody thing as one tip. There's no silver bullet. Those of you in business already, you know, there's not one thing that makes your business go. It's a whole combination of things that actually, the first one is, you know, you've got to be passionate about what you do. If you can't go to the coffee shop, to the pub, to the bars, and bore the pants off your friends talking about your business, right? Move on, right? You need to bore people about what you do. You've got to be that passionate about what you do. That's number 1, right? 2, things are going to go wrong. You will screw up. Whatever business plan you've done, right? I promise you that's not where you're going to end up. Believe it. Because things will change and you're going to have to adapt. The third thing is, however much cash you've got, if you've only got just enough cash for the business plan, it's not going to work. Invariably, I've found every single time you're going to need a lot more for a variety of reasons. And it's going to take a lot longer than you think. Now, there's exceptions to all these, by the way. But these are the main ones for me that I believe in. And the last one, really understand, you know, your reason to exist. I know your mother loves you. Right? And I know if you ask her, she'll say, that's wonderful, darling. well, do you go for it? Right? And if you ask your grandmother and your dad and your granddad, they're going to say the same thing because they love you and they want to encourage you. Go and ask somebody who you don't know. Right? Ask somebody who has no dog in the fight and get honest advice about your reason to exist, for your business to exist and grow. An honest one, not just born out of enthusiasm, because passion can also be dangerous, right? Enthusiasm. And I always, we never touched on this earlier, but when you look at yourself, when things go wrong or you're not sure about something, for the boys, we shave. Ladies, you put your makeup on, and if you do both, well done. But when we look, it's a different world we live in, right? But when you look in that mirror, you are the easiest person in the world to fool. So you need to look at that mirror and be absolutely honest with yourself about what you're doing and how it's working, even if you don't like some of the things you tell yourself. Because that doesn't mean it's negative. It just tells you need to address these things, right? It's positive negative if there is such a thing, right? It's positive. It just tells you need to address these things. You don't particularly like them, but they're there. Don't fool yourself, because that is bad. There's a whole raft of them there. Oh, bloody hell, go on.
Do you go to bed at night and think there aren't enough hours in the day?
Yes.
And how do you deal with it?
We want to invent the day that is like, I want more months. There was a Dragon's Den spoof by Harry Enfield, but what was the month he created? What was it? October, right? Which is an extra month, right? Because you need the extra month, and we're trying to invent more hours. Absolutely, the days just go like this. It's ridiculous, and you fill your day up so easily doing stuff that you love. When you're really enjoying stuff, the days go very, very quick.
Theo, we could keep you here forever, but we're nice people, so we're not going to do that.
Thank you, Emilia.
I would just like to say thank you. Thank you so much. I know you've spoken about many of these things before, but to hear you and to be with you in the flesh and for us to listen to you and your stories it's priceless. We're incredibly grateful. We are so proud of you as a country, as a people, that you have a funny name like the rest of us. And congratulations. You deserve every success. And I'm just so grateful that I got to sit here. I was going to say sit here with you today.
Listen, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And obviously having a great interview like you made it so much easier.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Thank you very much.
Theo Paphitis.
Thank you for listening to Cyprus Diaspora Uncovered. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for more inspiring conversations that are shaping Cyprus's global future. You can also explore more episodes on our website and selected video interviews on our YouTube channels.